Hello everybody, what's up? Ehren here, Question Period Canada. How are you this evening? It's a chilly one here. We got a bunch of snow in Nova Scotia today, probably like 30 centimeters or so. Not that bad, it is December. We're going to jump into a question period from November 28th. It's the most recent one that we didn't cover, and I haven't seen it yet, so it should be exciting. Just to let you know, I am making lots of other videos. You can check some of those out. We cover the question period lives. Every day we do the Commons, and we try to slip in the Senate question periods as often as we can. And there's a bunch of other videos that we do as well. We do like 4 or 5 shorts a day. It's just some fun stuff with Canadian politics as we learn more about this. Last thing before we jump into the Senate question period, I need people to know, or I'd like people to be aware, that there are Liberal senators. They're called the Progressive Senators Group. There are also Conservative senators, and they're members of the Conservative Senate group. But they're saying, just in general, like especially in the Commons, that there are no Liberal senators. That's a lie. They changed the name of the Liberal Senate caucus to the Progressive group in 2019. That's all that changed. Just saying, I don't like it when they're deceiving me right to my face. I don't think that you would want to be lied to either. Anyhow, let's jump into question period from the Senate.
Période des questions.
Here we go.
Question period. Senator Platt.
Government Leader. On November 16th, the Windsor Police said 1,600 foreign workers would come here next week for work on the Stellantis battery plant, which is heavily subsidized with $15 billion of Canadian taxpayers' money. Since then, we've heard nothing but confusion from the Trudeau government. One Trudeau cabinet minister said only one foreign replacement worker was involved, one. The next day, another minister said it was a fairly small number. Last Thursday, the company said 900 workers would be coming. In turn, Canada's Building Trades Union called this an insult to workers and taxpayers. Leader, this mess could be cleared up today if the Trudeau government came clean with Canadians for once.
Clean up this mess.
And release the contracts. Senator Gold, will you do so?
Senator Gold.
Well, thank you for the question. The plant to which you're referring is an important contribution to not only to our economy, but also to positioning ourselves going forward. My understanding is that the foreign workers to which you refer, in the great majority of them, are essentially going to be here as temporary workers, visiting workers, in order to help establish the plant, install the heavy grade equipment necessary. This is a project that's going to create, my understanding is, thousands of good paying jobs for Canada, and it's a project that's good for all Canadians and for our economy.
Senator Platt.
No problem releasing the contracts. This is just another example of how the Prime Minister is not worth the cost. We learned on Friday that the Northvolt battery plant in Quebec will also employ hundreds of foreign workers, despite receiving $7 billion from Canadian taxpayers. Volkswagen is also getting a massive subsidy to build a battery plant in Ontario to the tune of $14 billion. How many foreign workers will Volkswagen bring to Canada, Leader?
Senator Gold.
Well, again, the use of temporary foreign workers to assist our economy is a well-established feature in all aspects of our economy, and indeed, in this particular case, again, to help Canada and our companies set up and establish themselves properly for the future is the appropriate thing for the government to do, and for the companies who are investing in Canada to do.
Senator
Gold is slick.
Senator Gold, on March 30th, 2022, when I asked then Public Safety Minister Marco Mendocino about a foreign agent registry, he replied that the idea merits study. 1 year later, same minister, same chamber, I asked again, and he said that his government was in the midst of conducting robust public consultations, that significant progress had been made, and that he was more than optimistic that a registry would be put in place in less than a year. That particular position was echoed in this place on a number of occasions by you yourself, Senator Gold. So we're within 4 months of another broken promise from this Trudeau government, and I guarantee you we won't see any bill between now and Christmas. Will we see a foreign registry bill over in the House side between now and Christmas 2023?
Senator Gold.
Well, thank you for your question, and again, for your advocacy on behalf of the foreign registry. The government has said, and I'll repeat, government is actively working on developing a foreign agent registry. The government is committed to getting it right, and when it is ready to bring forward the plan and legislation, it will do so.
Senator Houssakos.
Colleagues, you see how discombobulated this government is? Senator Gold, the Attorney General has now stated over the last few days that your government will not be introducing a foreign agent registry. So what happened to all the consultations and optimism that you're responding now to my question? The truth is, your government never had any intention to introduce a registry. And the question I have, it's been now 2 years we've been hearing this misinformation or disinformation. Is it a question of real incompetence on the part of the government, or is it just blatant dishonesty? Period.
It is neither, honourable colleague. And again, I think that your insinuations are not appropriate. I am advised that the government is still actively working on the registry, and until I'm advised otherwise, if and when I'm advised otherwise, I will so report.
Senatrice Dupuis.
Senator Dupuis. Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is for the government representative in the Senate, Senator Gold. Senator Gold, I have not found a mandate letter addressed to the new Minister of Justice appointed in 2023. But in the previous mandate letter the Prime Minister addressed to then Minister of Justice in December 2021, he was asked to re-establish the Law Commission of Canada so that it can provide independent advice on necessary legal reforms for complex legal issues facing Canadians, such as systemic racism in the justice system. The Senate Legal and Constitutional Affairs Committee has urged the government in several of its reports on proposed legislation to undertake a fundamental review of the principles established in the Criminal Code in 2020, based on the values of the 19th century, in fact. So, Senator Gold, what is the status of the Law Commission of Canada? Has the Department of Justice given a mandate for a thorough review of the Criminal Code? Senator Gold, thank you for the question. I've been informed that the Government of Canada announced the appointment of Professor Sean Van Praagh as President of the Commission, of the Law Commission of Canada. And I quote, a friend and colleague of, a long friend and colleague, as well as part-time commissioner. I would have the opportunity to meet with Professor Van Praagh in the coming weeks and I will make further inquiries with respect to your question. Senator Dupuis, my additional question is the following. If the Minister has not yet asked the Commission for it, when will the Law Commission be mandated to proceed to such a review of the Criminal Code? I understand that the Commission has a mandate of initiative, but if the Minister asks the Commission to do so, they must do so. So when will the Law Commission of Canada be mandated by the Department of Justice for a thorough review of the Criminal Code? Senator Gold, if I correctly have correctly understood the question, it's about a mandate, and there are appointments underway, but I will make further inquiries as to your question.
Senator Deakin, Ontario.
Thank you. My question is for the government representative in the Senate. Last Monday, we celebrated National Child Day. A few weeks ago, I had the opportunity to meet with the Canadian School Boards Association, representing trustees and chairs of school boards. Their number one issue was the health of students, particularly ensuring that students do not go to school hungry. This has never been more important, with food bank usage up 41% from last year. And Canada remains the only G7 nation in the world without a national school food program. The government held consultations on this policy a year ago. I have asked this in yearly intervals since the Liberals campaigned on a school food program, and I would like to ask again today, when will the government fulfill this commitment?
They're so nuanced, right?
Well, thank you for the question. It's important that all levels of government contribute to and collaborate so that our kids can be properly nourished and therefore take the benefit of the education that we provide. I'm not in a position to comment on the progress or discussions that may be taking place with regard to a national program. Again, at the risk of repeating myself, this is a matter of provincial jurisdiction, of course, as we know, in terms of delivery of education in the provinces, but I certainly will make efforts to inform myself further.
Senator Deakin, Ontario.
Thank you. And yes, the schools are a provincial jurisdiction for sure, but we have had the promise of a national school food program, and we have, and I just want to reiterate, we have these partners that are willing, in a very reasonable way with good energy to help and support the government, that they also, keep asking the question.
Senator Gold.
Well, again, the government is in active discussions with its provincial counterparts in the area of health and the area of education, and I have every confidence that these are subjects that continue to be discussed at those levels.
Senator Black.
Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I've heard from rural Canadians that they're frustrated with the lack of attention paid to their regions. Residents in rural areas have had to tackle various infrastructure challenges to guarantee a secure environment for living, recreation, and working within their communities. Rural community has a critical shortage of affordable housing options, yet it hasn't received the same attention as urban centres. Without affordable housing, many communities cannot prevent homelessness or help people through the housing continuum. In addition to providing community members with a safe and adequate place to live, affordable housing also strengthens social inclusion and promotes a sense of community. And so investing in rural infrastructure is an investment in the future. My question to the government representative in the Senate is, what initiatives or programs is the government currently implementing to promote the development of affordable housing in rural communities? And can you outline the government's long-term strategy for sustainable, inclusive rural housing development?
Senator Gold.
Well, thank you, Senator, for your question. Government is very aware that rural communities have unique and in some cases very dire housing needs. I've been informed that through the National Housing Co-Investment Fund, through the Rental Construction Financing Initiative within the National Housing Co-Investment Fund and the Rapid Housing Initiative, the government has already invested over $523 million in affordable housing in rural communities. And additionally, colleagues, over $16 billion investment in housing is being made through the Fall Economic Statement, and it will build upon these major investments in rural and remote housing.
Senator Black.
How does the government plan to adapt its approach to accommodate evolving demographic and economic trends in rural areas?
Senator Gold.
Well, thank you for your question. I can assure colleagues that the government is very aware and mindful
Smooth,
of
right?
The demographic issues and the changing economic trends in rural areas, and will continue to work to do its part to address the unique housing challenges faced in rural and remote communities.
Senator Klein.
Senator Gold, according to a recent article on sciencepolicy.ca, Canada is falling behind other OECD countries in research and development investments, which is key to attracting and retaining the brightest and most creative and innovative minds. In 2021, the Senate Prosperity Action Group's report recommended that there be greater focus, investment, and execution in Canada, transitioning to the fourth industrial revolution, and specifically to the digital and intangible economy. 3 specific recommendations from that group follow. 1, facilitating access to capital, including encouraging our financial institutions and pension plans to invest within our procurement system. 2, positioning our innovative companies strategically within our procurement system. And 3, building better partnerships between academic institutions and businesses, fostering commercialization of innovation. Senator Gold, what is the government taking to raise our standing in the OECD on research and development?
Senator Gold.
Well, thank you for your question. The government recognizes the important, indeed outstanding contribution that researchers and scientists make to the health to the well-being, indeed the prosperity of all Canadians. I'm advised that since 2018, the government has committed more than $15 billion to support research and science across Canada. Government has added 600 new Canada graduate scholarships and increased the duration of paid parental leave for scholarship and fellowship holders from 6 months to 12 months. My understanding is as well that the government has heard the call from the research community to increase the value of scholarships and fellowships, and it will continue to work with the three federal granting agencies and the research community to continue to explore ways that it can better support the next generations of researchers and top talent this country can produce.
Senator Klein.
When it comes to innovation, the Senate Prosperity Action Group's report notes some factors holding back Canada. These include a national scarcity
This
of
is a
C-suite
Liberal
talent,
senator.
with experience scaling up businesses, a shortage of skilled STEM talent with fierce global competition, a lack of affordable high-speed internet in parts of Canada, and the slow adoption of technology by businesses and governments. Senator, how will the government overcome these barriers to prosperity?
Senator Gold.
The progressive senator
Well,
group
thank you for
are
that
liberal
important
senators.
question,
They say they aren't.
although it is.
They are.
In order to support and nurture the folks with the skills to which you refer, I understand that the government is working with its agencies and to develop new opportunities aimed at increasing science literacy and the participation of Canadians in STEM, including those coming from underrepresented groups.
Senator Carignan.
Senator Carignan. Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is for the government leader. Mr. Leader, in the fall economic update, we can read the following. For the last 3 years, despite volatile global economic conditions, the government's responsible economic plan has led to year-end financial results that have consistently surpassed annual deficit targets. End of quote. Yet, Mr. Leader, we can see in the economic statement that deficits for future years will be almost twice as high as those forecast in last March's budget. They will reach $27.1 billion in 2026-2027 and $23.8 billion in 2027-2028, compared with a forecast 8 months ago of $15.8 billion and $14 billion for the same years. Mr. Leader, how do you explain this obvious contradiction in your government's economic statement? Senator Gold. The government, with this phase of its program, has implemented continued development of our economy for everyone's benefit. I'm advised that it's working well. There are over 2 million Canadians working today as compared to the period before the pandemic. And the inflation rate continues to drop. Gains in wages for workers is higher than the rate of inflation. And according to private sector economists, it's quite possible, if not likely, that we will avoid the recession that was predicted not so long ago. Senator Carignan. Mr. Leader, you didn't answer my question. The minister said
You didn't answer my question,
in her
he said.
economic update at one point that she always reaches targets and goes even beyond those targets. And then elsewhere, we're told that the deficit is going to be twice the size that the one that she announced, the size of the one she announced. So my question was simple. Did the minister reread her speech before giving it? Senator Gold.
I forget to do the likes part.
The
Give me a like
update
if you're watching.
Puts forward government priorities, and there are two major challenges that the update responds to. Action to support Canadians, as well as action to ensure that the housing crisis improves.
Government Leader, in October, Senator Plett and I both received written answers to questions regarding the contracts given to Accenture to run the CEBA loans program for small businesses. The answer states Export Development Canada implemented a disclosure process for contracts in December 2021 after Accenture was awarded the contract for CEBA. One of the answers shows the Trudeau government entered into multiple contracts with Accenture after December 2021, yet they were never proactively disclosed. This includes 4 contracts in January and February of this year worth a combined $60 million. Leader, what good is a disclosure process that keeps contracts like these hidden from Canadians?
Gold.
Well, thank you for your question. It's my understanding that those contracts that were disclosed are those that can be disclosed under the terms of the contracts and whatever confidentiality requirements are at place, and the government will continue to act responsibly in that regard.
I specifically asked you when Minister Freeland and Minister Ng became aware of Accenture's involvement in the CEBA program. The answer I received did not even come close to answering my question. So, Leader, if access to information, transparency, and accountability mean anything to your government, will you go back and ask them to answer my specific question? When did the ministers know?
Senator Gold.
Well, thank you for your question. When senators ask questions to which I don't have the answer, I make every effort to get the answers. I'm glad that you received an answer. I'm disappointed that the answer was not to your satisfaction. I will continue to do my best to get answers from the government to the questions senators ask.
Senatrice Petitclerc.
Senator Petitclerc. Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is for the government represented in the Senate. Senator Gold, Health Canada recently approved
This lady has great questions.
over-the-counter sale of flavored nicotine pouches for oral use. These new products contain 4 milligrams of tobacco, but they're not regulated as tobacco products. They've been authorized under the Natural Health Product Regulations, which set no minimum age for sale. Adults who want to quit smoking are the target clientele. However, the Canadian Cancer Society informs us that these products are advertised on social networks, on TV, and on billboards near schools using lifestyle advertising. Experts in health promotion organizations recommend suspending the sale of nicotine pouches. As a society, we've done a lot to keep young people away from tobacco. Does the government intend to listen to the experts and organizations in time? Thank you very much for the question. The government takes industry efforts to advertise its products to young people very seriously. And I assure this chamber that Health Canada and the Canadian government will continue to do what needs to be done to protect Canadians. Senator Petitclerc.
Announced it was banning the sales of all type of nicotine pouches. In October, nicotine pouches are no longer allowed to be sold in Belgium, and in Denmark, they are regulating the use of nicotine pouches under their existing tobacco law. Can you assure me that Canada is going to also take leadership and we will not wait until damage is done?
Senator Gold.
Well, thank you. I know that Canada, Health Canada and the Government of Canada will look carefully at the experience in other countries, and will continue to take that, all of that under consideration as it considers what steps to take.
Senator Umeedwar.
Thank you, Speaker. My question to the Leader of the Government in the Senate is about the IRGC. It is pervasive, it is widespread, it is the primary instrument that keeps a murderous Islamic regime in Iran in power. It is implicated in torture, kidnapping, executions, not just in Iran, but possibly also outside. Leader, When will the government take the two motions passed in the House of Commons and in this chamber, which were passed unanimously? When is the government going to consider these motions and take action on them? And if not, why not?
Senator Gold.
Well, as government representative in the Senate, I'm pleased again to rise on this issue, the government takes very seriously, as do I, the pernicious role that the regime in Iran is taking around the world, whether in its own country or in all corners of the world. As I've stated on many occasions, Senator, the government has taken very serious action to impose sanctions on large segments of the administration apparatus within the regime, banning IRGC officials from Canada forever, imposing sanctions on elites on the security forces, as well as on their economic and security apparatus. It will continue to take into consideration further measures in order to register its abhorrence of the actions of the regime.
Merci, Senator Gold. Merci.
He got cut off. That doesn't happen very often. Very
Thank you,
rarely.
Speaker. Senator Gold, this is not some abstract idea that only reaches into the lives of Iranians in Iran. It actually is present here in Canada with the unexplainable presence of visitors or residents in Canada who are associated with the IRGC. Iranians in Canada tell me this is salt in the wound. What are we doing to prevent the arrival of individuals closely associated with the IRGC? How are we protecting Iranian Canadians and what?
Thank you, Senator.
She got cut off too. That's interesting. Rarely see that.
The government has done a great deal in order to identify in a focused way and one that protects those Iranian citizens, whether here or elsewhere, who are not part of the regime. And we'll continue to monitor all, as it does, generally speaking, all such activities to make sure that Canadians and Iranian citizens in Canada are protected.
Senator Platt.
Leader, 1 in 5 Canadians are skipping meals, and 2 million Canadians rely on food bank. In fact, a record 800,000 people in Ontario are relying on food banks, including 1 out of 10 every people in our largest city, Toronto. Canadian families are also eating less nutritious foods because they simply cannot afford to feed themselves. Amid this suffering last year, 39 members of Prime Minister Trudeau's cabinet spent $46,000 on catering during a 3-day retreat focused on, get this, affordability.
Yeah, sounds like a good time.
During this year's affordability retreat for the Trudeau cabinet, or our out-of-touch Prime Minister's very own department, spent $160,000 on lodging and transportation. While people have food banks, Leader, while people are going hungry, how can you justify this?
You can't justify it, can you? It's going to be hard.
The Government of Canada has taken important measures to assist Canadians who are going through this difficult time. That ranges from the support that it continues to give to Canadians of lower or modest incomes, whether it's in the area of housing or food. In addition, the government has introduced in the other place additional measures to enhance competition, including competition in the food industry. It will continue to take the appropriate measures within its jurisdiction to assist Canadians during these difficult times.
Senator Platt.
Leader, this
Platt's
year's
great,
edition
for sure.
of the Trudeau Cabinet's affordability retreat took place in Charlottetown, where 1/3 of food bank users are people who have jobs, according to Food Banks Canada. The $160,000 I just mentioned was only the amount spent by the Privy Council. Leader, can you tell us how much the Trudeau government spent in total on this year's so-called affordability retreat?
Senator Gold.
Well, Senator, thank you for your question. The fact remains that the Government of Canada is committed and remains committed, will continue to be committed to do real things on the ground for real people, and it will continue to do what it can within its means and within its jurisdiction to assist Canadians through these difficult times.
Senator McCallum.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question is for the government rep in Senate.
What's going on?
Senator Gold,
They got hung up.
a representative from the GRO recently told me that the GRO has received a directive from Cabinet that stipulates that the government will not be accepting any additional amendments to C-29. Moreover, if an amendment occurred at third reading, the government would be prepared to reject the amendment. I have sent a message to the minister requesting information on this, but I have yet to receive a response. As such, Senator Gold, can you please respond as to why Cabinet would interfere in the work that I and other senators do in Senate?
Well, with the greatest of respect, Senator, your information or assumptions are not correct. To the best of my knowledge, and I am the government representative in the Senate, and I sit on a cabinet committee where I tend to we have received no such directive, and we do not receive directives from cabinet vis-a-vis matters of that kind. But moreover, the government of Canada respects the work of the Senate. It does not necessarily agree with every amendment that may be proposed, certainly not every amendment that may be passed by the Senate. But the record of this government stands in very, very significant contradistinction to the record of any previous government in the history of the Senate in terms of showing respect for the Senate's work and accepting a significant number of amendments. So I will certainly look into this matter, Senator, but respectfully, I do believe that the information to which you refer is not correct.
Senator McCallum. Le temps pour la période de questions est maintenant.
The time for questions period
That wraps
has
up question
expired.
period, guys. That takes care of that.
Delayed answers.
Well, delayed answers, we'll worry about those another day. So that's the Senate. To anybody that's just being introduced, it is a lot different than the Commons question periods. It seems more nuanced and refined. There's still politicians, though, so there's definitely some clowns and political antics, no doubt. The thing that's been on my mind this last week is especially bothering me, is that the Liberals in the Commons are flagrantly just lying, saying that there are no Liberal senators. They changed the name of the Liberal senator group in 2019. That's it. That's the only thing they changed. And that's so that they can tell the lies that they're telling now, that there are no Liberal senators. There's Bill C-234 that's being hung up in the Senate that was passed through the Commons. Despite the coalition government, they got that bill through, and now it's being hung up in the Senate. This is why it's important. I didn't know these things, but I'm learning as I go. And the idea is to share it with folks like you that are curious and interested and like this stuff and want to know. I seem like I'm a conservative guy. I'm not. I don't think I've ever voted federally for the Conservatives, ever. I have voted for the Liberals. I have voted for the NDP. I won't be doing that next time, though. I assure you this. Anyhow, that wraps up the show. We try to keep it light, have some fun while we're learning. My name's Ehren. This is Question Period Canada. Think about subscribing, sharing it with a friend. This is what we're doing here. I make the other videos. They're a little sillier, but we try to take the live stuff, with a grain of salt, still keeping it fun and light, but getting the information. I'm going to wrap up for now. Time to get ready for bed. It is getting late here in Nova Scotia. It's about midnight. Thank you all so much for watching. I love hanging out here, having these chats with everybody. That's great. I like being connected with other fellow Canadians from across the country. So that's it. We'll be back tomorrow covering the Commons for sure. I'll be doing my highlights. If you haven't checked out the video I posted on here, take a peek at what we're doing with the highlights. It's kind of fun. That's it. I'm Ehren, Question Period Canada. Thanks for watching. We're out. Catch you tomorrow.